it's going to be, this next season is going to be real interesting when I talk about the SEC. I think Georgia and Bama will see each other. But that brings me to another topic, because I'm like, maybe Bama and Georgia won't see each other when we talk about Texas A&M. Texas A&M's turning into a pretty good football team, and their schedule next season is pretty easy. This team is for surely going to be undefeated come October 9th when they face Bama. They play Mississippi State, easy. They play Arkansas. Now, I don't want to say easy on Arkansas. It's a home game. That's why I want to give them the edge. But Arkansas is becoming a pretty good football team with Sam Pittman as the head coach. I was kind of curious as to why Arkansas would have hired Sam Pittman out of every coach in the nation. But the thing is Sam Pittman was a great recruiter, great with football players, and it seems like he was a great head coach, because he really turned that Arkansas team around last season. Even though they didn't really have a great season, I feel like he really turned them around for the better. I feel like they have a lot of success for the future when it comes to that Arkansas team under Sam Pittman. They play New Mexico, that's an easy dub. They play Colorado, that's an easy dub. They play Kent State, that's an easy dub. Their G-Day, not G-Day, I'm so used to. Their spring game is on April 17th. I'm going to be tuned in on that, checking it out, just kind of looking around at the players. I just, want to get an idea of what this Texas A&M football team is going to be next season. The big thing that scares me with this Texas football team is the quarterback situation. And I know that's like cliche to say right now, because I feel like it's the big story when we talk about Texas A&M is who their quarterback's going to be. Kellen Mond was a 4-year starter. And while I feel like he never really developed into the quarterback A&M really needed to be successful, I feel like he was still that guy who could win Texas A&M games. Now it's going to be harder for Texas A&M now that they've got to bring in a new guy, and they don't really have any young guys on this team. I noticed most of their quarterbacks are juniors or redshirt sophomores, so they're really going to have a quarterback battle this offseason. Maybe, who knows, maybe they already know, the guy they got, but it's going to be interesting. I think either King or Quezada will be the starter. Quezada, I don't know how to say that, but what I'm seeing right here on Dallas News, but it's going to be really interesting for Texas A&M. When we talk about, and let me tell you why, okay? When we talk about Texas A&M, I feel like the thing that is crazy now for Texas A&M is how great they've recruited under Jimbo Fisher. Jimbo Fisher has done a fantastic job recruiting for Texas A&M, and he has turned Texas A&M into a powerhouse. In my opinion, they probably could have made the playoffs this last season. They lost one game. That game was to Bama. Bama beat them by like 30 points. But who was beating Bama? You know what I'm saying? And I don't think really anyone wanted to see Texas A&M get smacked by Bama again, because I'm like, as good as this Texas A&M team was, the one thing holding them back, I feel like, was Kellen Mond. I feel like Texas A&M is a great quarterback away from literally being the best team in the SEC. And I'm saying that like in all seriousness. And I want Texas A&M to find that quarterback, because I want the SEC to be more of a challenge. I feel like right now when you look at the SEC, there's only 3 teams you look at as the cream of the crop, and maybe even 2 when we talk about Florida, because Florida's like that team that's up in the air. But I feel like right now there's only 2 teams that's like the cream of the crop in the SEC, and that is Georgia and that is Alabama. Now, we just had LSU, do their thing and da-da-da-da. But I'm like, that's like a once-time thing. You saw how bad LSU fell off this season, but we expected it, right? But it's going to be, it needs to be more teams that are good at football in the SEC. Like, I like the fact that LSU had that great team, because we didn't see Alabama on top for once. It sucked that Gus Malzahn couldn't make Auburn as good as we thought Auburn could be, because that could have been interesting. That could have been a team that kept Bama from reaching the playoffs every year. It sucks that Georgia can't beat this team, because I feel like it would balance out the SEC a lot more. It'd make it more fun. But right now, when you look at the SEC, you just really look at Bama, you look at Georgia, and I feel like now you look at Texas A&M, but Texas A&M still needs a quarterback. They really need that quarterback that's going to separate the edge between them and Bama right now, because this team could easily beat Bama. They got a great defense. They got great players on the offense. We just saw what they did to North Carolina. And what they did to North Carolina is all recruiting. Okay, and I've noticed that when it comes to watching the SEC play other conferences, is that recruiting really stands out, because the teams will compete with an SEC team for 3 quarters. or 2.5. And then that second half, that you'll start to see the recruiting because their team's going to be gassed while the SEC is rotating players around and staying full speed. And I noticed that a lot when it comes to SEC teams playing non-SEC teams, and Texas A&M really showed that. And that was really on Jimbo Fisher's great recruiting that I feel like he's brought to Texas A&M, being able to have them stretch forward and take that big leap. But like I said, get a quarterback, please, for the love of you. Do whatever you can to recruit a quarterback. Get a quarterback in a Texas A&M uniform and put Texas A&M on top, because I'm looking at their schedule and I'm like, the only game I see this team realistically losing is against Bama. And I'm like, if they can find a way to win that game, which I don't think they will, but I think they have a high chance considering Bama's going to have an entire new offense. I think Texas A&M really can pull off an upset. The game is also a home game, so that gives them a little help. But you know what I'm saying, that guy on the sideline, Nick Saban, is dangerous. And it makes it a bit, it makes it a bit questionable, because I'm like, as good as this Texas A&M team can be, it's Bama. And Texas A&M, that quarterback situation's kind of killing me a bit. It's keeping me from really giving them the edge. But I do feel like Texas A&M could upset Bama next season, considering let's see how Bryce Young is going to play. Let's see how dominant he's going to be. It's going to be he's going to be a true sophomore starting, so that's going to be interesting. Maybe Texas A&M's defense can get to him and slow him down, and maybe their offense can put up points. So let's see how good the quarterbacks play. And I look at the rest of their games, man. These are all easy. Prairie View, A&M, Ole Miss. Actually, I don't know, because Ole Miss is getting really good and scary under Lane Kiffin. So I don't want to just give that away. They're gonna see Auburn with Brian Harsin now as the head coach. Maybe he'll turn this team around. I'm not sure what his specialty is, offense or defense, but let's hope it's whatever he does, he can get Bo Nix on the right track, because Bo Nix was a 5-star quarterback and Gus Malzahn had no idea how to use him. And it's kind of sad, because when his freshman year I feel like was better than his sophomore year. I feel like Bo Nix really downgraded, you know what I mean? And then they face LSU to end the season. That's an easy win. This team could literally be the same team we saw this last season. I feel like Texas A&M will have the same exact season. One loss, they'll miss the SEC championship. They'll miss the SEC championship, and then I think the committee probably won't even put them in the playoff, because for some reason, you know what I'm saying? I don't know, man. They won't even put like one loss, undefeated teams. When we talk about Cincinnati, who potentially had probably the best defense in the nation. Look what they were doing to Georgia. But then there's that recruiting again. I think Texas A&M will probably have the same exact season as this last season. But they beat Bama. If they beat Bama, they could lose one on any of these SEC games, and they could make the SEC championship. Probably face Georgia or Florida, because it's obvious it's going to be one of those two teams. And they could get into the playoff if they win the SEC championship. But I feel like Texas A&M's big game is definitely going to be when they face Bama. That is going to be a big game for Texas A&M.